All right, guys. Today's episode, me and Jay had a really great conversation, and it was about finding your inner happiness to find your own peace. Once you find your own peace, then you're able to build your own community within yourself to kind of develop, the people around you in a better way. There we talked about, creating your own destiny in a positive, negative way. And here's our episode.
And also, don't forget, subscribe. And if you want, look us up on Instagram at Projecting Your Own Reality.
Awesome. Well, here we go.
We are controlling. We are controlling. We are controlling transmission.
We were referencing just like having a tough situation with like a customer or something, and being able to kind of balance it into a positive way, even though you feel like they're attacking you. It is kind of where, we have these energy fields that we're producing. So if they're coming at you with the negative energy field, if you start to absorb that and just produce more negative energy, it's just that bubble is just going to grow bigger, and the situation is going to get worse and harder to handle. Whereas if you really take that time to just know, like, whatever this person is going through, like, I don't understand it, and that's fine. They're just reacting to what they're feeling inwardly, and I have no idea what they're feeling inwardly. You really do detach from them thinking that they're like attacking you, because you can acknowledge it as like, if your inner thoughts and your inner world is what you're projecting into into like the 3D kind of world, that's what you see in reality. If someone's feeling attacked all the time, they're always just going to be projecting these situations where they're feeling attacked. So that's just what's happening, and it's just unfortunate that you would be, in that field at that time. But for you, or for I, or whoever, when you develop that strength to just like lean back into it with the positive bubble, it can also help calm them back down and
Mm.
not feel attacked. And then all of a sudden the situation, starts to become easier to resolve. You find a solution, and we both basically deal in customer service, and you know where I'm at, sometimes it's like these, and I get it, it's very stressful times. Sometimes people come in the store, they don't know where to go to pick up an order, to do whatever, and then all of a sudden you're the one that they're interacting with, and all the stress that they're feeling from everything that's going on is now coming out to you. And if you're not able to see things from a higher level, someone coming at you with their stress is all of a sudden going to make you feel stressed right away, which is going to make you feel attacked. So now your defensive mechanisms are going up because you're going into survival mode. So
Right.
you can't really balance the situation back up to where then all of a sudden you could be, butting heads with these customers. Where for me, a lot of times I try not to address their stress, because it's like I'll feel it, like I'll feel them like being like, oh, I tried to go over here and do this, and so I said, it's like, okay, what do you need? Just kind of just bring the situation back down to like their need. What do you need? Okay, let me go get it for you. I'll take care of it. Be right back. And then you just kind of diffuse it, and you keep your energy. You don't have to be like, oh my God, let me go get it. Like I'm changing, my whole attitude. It doesn't have to be cheerleader style. Cheerleader style. It just has to be calm. Like, okay, this person is stressed out. They just need their stuff. They just want to get out of here. Let me just make that as easy as possible for them. And when you do that and you don't give them attitude, you end up changing the situation to where by the end of it they could just be like, okay, thank you, and have a good day, and then it's over with, it's done.
Yeah, it's definitely like, and then also like even you can feel it already, even before you even start talking. Let's say from the beginning, and you're like, okay, well, I'm aware that I'm feeling this kind of tension here, so you definitely right away goes with a different attitude. And then obviously sometimes when you approach, let's say a customer, then your attitude has to do a lot with how they're going to react to or how it's explained, because definitely people kind of understand, like some people are very technical and some people are very visual, and then some people can, like, you got to point it like really, just really detailed. And so you, like you said, you're right. Like you have to say, well, what do you need? What do you want? after you already explain. Like, let's say if you're trying to, do sales, which I do almost like every day, you have to explain like, okay, well, this is the work that we need to do at your house. This is what I recommend, and this is what you can do. Is this something you want to do for your home? It's needed, but these are your options. And then based on their options, then they'll be able to choose. But if I go to like a tough salesman mentality, like I'll take no as an answer, I'm gonna make them very uncomfortable, right? So where I'm trying to get at with like those kind of customers is like every time they kind of say no or negative, don't take it personally. Like I am comfortable with myself, inner peace, that you can be in my face, tell them, hey, fuck you, I don't really like you or whatever. You can call me the shittiest thing in the world, and I'll be like, okay, thank you, like, because I've trained myself so well to not take anything so personally. And even if it's true, I'm not gonna deny it. It'll hurt a little bit, but I'm not gonna react like to like that, and I reacted before, right? And I never liked it, but but at least I'm aware of like, this is just temporary, and I'm still happy within myself. Like even if they say no, yes, they're probably going through their own personal things. So let's go to a little bit more like even deeper. Like for you, like when someone says, what is happiness to you? What's the first thing that comes into mind?
I mean, happiness is just finding just peace, just being peaceful with being who you are, having your likes, having your interests. Like, I think it is just that freedom of kind of just being yourself without being judged. It like happiness isn't something that's going to come from an outside source. Happiness isn't, even though like for me, like I love sweets. So even though it's like, yeah, like ice cream, it makes me feel happy, but it's not like the source of my happiness. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just something that like I enjoy. So when I'm feeling that my happiness, it's like I'm gonna go get some ice cream, but it's again, it's something that you take away the judgment of getting it, or whatever, and because you're not like overindulging in these things. You're just enjoying that they're available.
Right.
So I don't know. I think really it's just going to come down to finding who you feel the happiest with internally. I think ultimately,
like your own person, right?
Yeah. Like when you close your eyes and you're able to kind of meditate, like you're gonna realize like if you can become anything you want, anyone you want. It's like you don't have to change, but if you feel like you want to, like the thing is, there's unlimited possibilities to what you could do. It's just going to be, if you are going to make giant changes, sometimes you got to make giant leaps. You got to realize it's not going to be smooth, easy transitions all the time. So you stay positive in knowing though that you're finding your truth, and the happiness kind of rolls along with that, because then because I think the unfortunate thing is like you're not going to get rid of people who are going to maybe judge you or comment negatively. Like you're not going to get rid of those, but their voices become so much more distant. You don't hear them as much, or they're on such a lower frequency. So yeah, it's just
yourself, right? Because obviously, okay, so you were saying that like, because I know I've worked on myself so much that I am comfortable enough with anything, like if you tell me something, right, and I really don't understand what you're saying, I'm gonna be like, hey Jay, I don't know what you're saying. Can you explain, elaborate? Because I'm comfortable enough. Some people are not comfortable enough to, let's say, if you were saying something very uncomfortable, then I would be uncomfortable with myself. Then I won't ask. So I'll just be like, but you should ask, because later on you're gonna be like, shit, I feel guilty for not saying anything, and now I feel guilty all throughout, and that's gonna be my thought, right?
Well, yeah. Then all of a sudden, your thoughts are now controlling you. You have to got to be able to bring it back and not overthink the situations, especially once they've happened. Because I'm guilty of that. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. I could be having like a million positive interactions, but that one, I'll think about that the whole day. Like I've been there, you know.
100%
It's
better. No,
yeah.
that's true. And like the things I do to like make me happy, it's not like the things that obviously there's gonna be people saying do this, do that, do everything is gonna make you happy. If I try them and they do make me happy, and that goes with my like let's say my character, my personality, and I keep doing it, awesome, right? But let's say if I tell you, hey Jay, I think you should really change, your art into like super dark black and just put a black dot everywhere. Just an example, right? Right? And if you don't do it, then I'm not gonna be happy. Like, don't you care about my happiness? Right?
Right. But my thing it would almost be though, like I like to me it would almost be like, why not you do it? You know what I mean? Like that would be almost my
Right.
perspective. Like
A
because
hundred.
the next thing you know, you're putting just a black dot on the white canvas, making $100,000 off each one because that's art.
Right. Right. It's like, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, no matter what I say and whatever I try to suggest or really change, like, let's say your person, whatever I say, it shouldn't affect you because me to be able to care for you, right? I should accept for everything that you are
Mm.
within everything. Like, even even if you told the neighbor to get the fuck out of here or anything, it's like, well, that happens. We're all human. I'm not gonna hate them and hold that personally for a long time. Yeah, it happens. People go crazy once in a while, but at least we're aware to bring it back to, okay, well, maybe next time I should just breathe, and not do that.
No, I think that's the thing, and especially as you're kind of going through, kind of like I don't know, I don't want to use the trendy phrase, but I guess when you're like woke in a way, I don't know, when you're becoming more aware of your surroundings and
I like.
life, you know, yeah, that way, it's not gonna be easy all the time because you'll see things and you'll notice those things because you're just viewing them from you know a further away kind of perspective.
Mhm.
Um, I kind of lost my train of thought there for a second. Not gonna lie on that one.
It's like, so in order for you to be happy, you don't need my approval. You don't need it. For me to be happy, you don't need to change anything. Basically be accepting for the human you are, right? Like,
Yeah,
what
yeah. I mean, like if you're someone though that's like if you're causing problems and you have issues, you know what I mean. That's one thing if you're gonna try to help in that kind of situation. But for the most part, though, it's just kind of like the more you become aware of yourself, the less someone else's actions or whatever are going to influence your mood. Like it's kind of just like being able to smile while someone just like berating you. It's just like, all right, what do you call me some bad names, do some stuff, all right, and it's just it seems you know it seems hard, and it can be someone screaming in your face, but I think it's more important now than ever to avoid these kind of confrontations because the trend I think on social media is just to catch people. We got to catch people, and it's like the more I've seen, it's it's just nonsensical, and it just everyone I think is looking. Everyone's looking for a battle. Everyone's looking to be the most righteous. Like I've literally seen. It's like right now there's the videos of people complaining about who's wearing a mask, who's not wearing a mask. It's like you get people flipping out at people inside of a store for wearing a mask, and then it's like I just like calm down.
right?
It's like everyone is just
Yeah,
looking for a reason, and that's the thing. You're gonna find it.
right.
If you're looking for it, you're gonna find it, and that's the issue. Is most people aren't looking for happiness.
Uh,
They're looking to project that someone else is worse than they are so they can feel superior. So
right.
they're looking for this feeling from an outside source. So when they get their social justice minute, that's how long they'll feel good for is a minute. But then they got to go find another battle and another battle and another battle. And it's kind of why we are where we are, is because we're there's obviously some battles that need to be fought, but it's those little ones, it's just like, I get that it's important to wear a mask, but I don't need you to record all the incidences of you
Mm.
finding the people without them and being all like throwing masks at them or doing whatever nonsense. It's just like, you
Yeah.
don't have to be that person, it's just it's like the unfortunate thing of like, they can do what they want, and the more you react in a negative way, the more you're causing stress within your own body, which is actually just going to increase the risk of you catching it.
And then and then
So
and then at the end, you're actually following something that you heard. A lot of people really don't really do their own research as far as,
mhm,
oh, like, why are one side saying don't wear a mask and why is the other one wear a mask? I'm like, well, if you look at the science, it's gonna tell you why sometimes it's okay not to wear it, and then why
mhm,
sometimes it's okay to wear it, and sometimes, hey, look, if let's say you're outside where you have full UV, like you're not gonna get it because it kills it right away, But if you're inside, then obviously, it's courteous. Even if you go to a restaurant, just wear a mask, or even like I like what they're doing in Japan. If you're sick in Japan, they wear a mask. So because it's the
mhm,
right thing to do there. They've been programmed to say, okay, well, if I'm sick, I'm gonna cover myself so I don't get anybody else sick.
right,
So what I feel is like people are watching other sources that are telling them you need to wear a mask. If you don't, you're a piece of shit. And then the other one's like, if you don't wear a mask, you're the other people are a piece of shit because they want you to wear a mask.
yes,
And the thing is, it gets thrown back, and they don't realize they're just fighting over nonsense. Like at the
right.
end, and the thing is the people that are saying those messages out there are exactly the people that control everything else, unfortunately, which
Well,
is
that's the thing is like, our our emotions are so easily manipulated, and once you get wrapped up in the confusion of it all, and especially if you're someone who's just so hard, to figure it out, and you're getting lost on both sides, it's like, it's just going to add all this stress to your body,
mhm.
and I my whole thing is like, for me, like, I do my art and stuff. There's situations that are going on in the external world that, are just, they're just happening. So I'm doing my best to just follow what I need to and respect it. You know what I mean? But unfortunately, there are other people going to be out there who don't care, that it's just going to make other people feel a certain way or whatever. But the thing is, it's also that double-edged sword where it is like, just you if you see that person without the mask, you just don't need to have the interaction, because once you do, like I said, you're just going to start to create that negative environment. So it's like, it's the cliche thing of walking away. It is like, you just have to. And I mean, but at the same time, it doesn't take much for you to understand, okay, if I'm about to walk into this store, I should just put this mask on. It's not a big deal, because otherwise then I'm just going to then I am creating chaos. It's like,
All right.
it's just finding that balance from both sides to be able to just say like, hey, you know what, if I'm not in a store, I don't want to wear it. Okay, whatever, if I go in, I'm going to respect the rules or whatever. It's just let it be what it is for right now,
Yeah,
and
it
just
is.
find the inner peace.
Yeah, it is an odd thing, like that thing, because really no one really knows, when are we ever gonna go back to normal. I feel that how, like, I mean, I hope it gets to, it's like, look, if you are sick, wear a mask. You know, if if you're not sick, why can't we go back to normal, to how we were? Obviously, never. I mean, because I just heard it the other day. Never in history they have closed the economy for an epidemic like this.
Right.
So it feels like, at least in the American side, is that it has a cause behind it, to, like elections coming, right? So that's a whole nother mess, you know? And it feels like both sides are just pushing this agenda or propaganda saying, hey, you make sure you do and you don't wear masks, and they're just pushing people around, and people are believing it because they're not in tune with themselves.
Right.
Instead of like, I feel for like me personally, I really don't watch news.
Yeah.
I don't watch news. I'm not there. I'm not sitting, and if I do, I just put it as in like, okay, well, let me see, and like I'll hear them out, see what they have to say, and then I'll be like, I'm not. Sometimes I don't agree with them. Sometimes I do, and if I do, it's like, okay, why? It's just not like, oh, I agree with them just because I heard it, and I'm just gonna go that way. It's like,
yeah, you can't. I mean, you can't allow science to become religious either.
right,
What I mean by that is like science shouldn't have uh, I don't know how to word it, but basically, when science starts to say like this is it, this is all the rules, this is all the way there is, then they're just create or they're well jumbled of words, but basically you start breaking down the idea of science by doing that, because science is really just the tool used to explain things that really kind of like even like religions try to teach. Right now there's a big movement in certain areas of science,
mm-hmm.
um, where they're utilizing it to help in your kind of meditative states, to access these parts of your mind that really can control things like happiness and stuff like that. um but it also shows how programming, like when you see on TV these medications, and these are all the side effects and this and this and this and this, they're kind of like programming you to get sick, just from that. And it's like they, even like the other day I saw one that it's like pre-screen yourself for colon cancer and all this and that. And it's like, oh, man, like they're just forcing us to get into these like hospitals to do all these things, and that's where it's like the scary end of science. Because the way, when you think about how, when you have a belief in something, like, okay, so all the people that are very strongly, believe in the mask, they want everyone to wear the mask, but the problem is they're using force and aggression to the people who aren't wearing the mask. And that's kind of that like religious tendency, you know what I mean? Like, I'm self-righteous for wearing this mask and you're killing everybody else by not wearing yours. And it's like, and just putting it out there, like, not saying like science can't break it down, but it's still like something you can't see, right? I can't see it. I don't know, like someone who has COVID
yeah,
comes
you
up to
can't see
me,
it, but
I'm not going to see the virus, you know what I mean? So
you
it's
can't
like,
see it, but it exists, right? Like it's
right,
here. Um, but the thing is, it's like it's a sickness that obviously all of us are gonna get at one point, like the flu. We are gonna get over it. The thing is that there's an agenda behind it more, that people are trying to make it bigger than what it is. Yeah, a lot of people are dying. I'm not denying that, but it feels like it was a good opportunity to say, hey, if you're wearing a mask, you are right. Hey, you're not wearing it, you're wrong. And people become so tribal and very believe in whatever others. And if a lot of groups say it, then others that really don't believe it might get influenced as well. Say, well, I want to be accepted. But that brings us
right,
back. That brings us back to being so comfortable with yourself and happy that you're going to say, okay, well, all right, those guys are wearing masks. Okay, so what's the purpose of them wearing the mask? If they're sick and they're gonna go to a restaurant, they're gonna cover your mouth. And okay, I'm like, all right, that's fantastic. But if they're gonna wear a mask, and if I go in there without a mask and they're gonna start just going at me, I'm not gonna hate that person and say, well, you know, I think what I'll say is like, well, you know what? Like, I'm not sick. I'm good. There's nothing wrong with me. And, because if I was sick, I would wear a mask 100%. But if they just start pushing back, it's like, well, it's the law or whatever. I'm like, well, if it's the law, well, I have some rights, right? But, but
I look at it like this. There's nothing wrong with respecting someone's house rules. If you go over your friend's house and take out, they want you to take your shoes off, you take
mhm,
your shoes off. So if you want to go in someone's restaurant or someone's shop and they have a sign that says please wear a mask, Why, if you don't want to put it on to go in there, guess what? You don't have to put one on and go in there.
That's
You know
right.
what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if you want to find that place that doesn't require a mask, go look for it.
Yeah.
Have fun. Yeah, I'm sure somewhere out there, I guarantee you there's stores that don't care. You know, if there's people that don't care, there's definitely store owners who don't care, right? So go support them then. And you can
Exactly.
all gather together without your masks and whatever, but at least know that you also have the freedom to not shop there as well. You know, like if someone is saying you can't come in here without a mask and you're just trying to force your way in,
Oh,
you're number one, you're going to lose. It's their place. It's their place of business. You're going to lose.
right.
So you're automatically just wasting your own time. You're wasting your own energy.
Yeah.
And you know, same thing on the opposite end. If you're sitting there screaming at someone to put a mask on, you're wasting your time. You're wasting your end. They've already made up their decision, and the angrier you get, the happier they feel. Because
Yeah.
people are weird. I don't know.
It is weird,
That's
right?
the you know.
And the
So I
thing
mean,
is
like,
that some people do it because they enjoy it too. Like they enjoy like, oh, what kind of chaos I can create because within themselves they feel like shit, unfortunately.
right,
And that's why people are doing it. And when a lot of people that feel like shit come together, then obviously they're gonna create a lot more shit than what it is. You know,
right,
and the thing is like, yeah, like and it becomes so tribal that's like, look, we get it. We understand you want to do the right thing, but no one really knows what the right thing is. But you have the choice to say if you want to go in there and say like you put it right, like right on. You said if there's a sign saying no mask and you don't want to wear it, why would you even go there? If the restaurant right next door says no mask required,
right. Yeah,
it's well then choose. Don't just be a dick and say, well, I want to go wherever I want, and it's like it's not even your store, and it has like exactly like you said it. It's like you're just being a dick and an asshole. So you
yeah.
have to evaluate yourself saying, why am I being a dick or an asshole? There has to be something personally. I'm just shifting the energy a different way to make everybody else's life a living hell.
Yeah,
Right?
no, I mean that would basically be how somebody is living internally. You know what I mean? People torture themselves. People, I think, if you were someone who got in trouble a lot growing up, you may turn a page to then feel like no one else should get away with anything. So now all of a sudden you're pointing everybody's mistakes out. You know what I mean? And it's like you know, sometimes when we don't have control over our mind, it does the stuff where it just runs wild and it creates crazy scenarios and makes us see things in all these crazy ways. But the more you kind of, you know, calm down, pull back and observe it, like you were kind of saying, you know, it does feel like all this stuff is in a way designed for something. And to me, it feels more of like it's just something and just another layer to try to divide us even further, you
Yeah.
know. And that to me is beyond all the other, you know, kind of conspiracies that go out there, because dividing us and keeping us vibrating apart would be, if there is something trying to take over or have complete control, that's the way to do it. It's get everybody completely separated to the point where no one trusts anybody, because then when you have no one that trusts anybody, they'll just end up trusting the paycheck. You know, well, at least me doing this is allowing this to come in, you know. And I don't know, I think the more you can step back and view it from that realization of like, we have to come together more. So beyond, you know, within all of this, what is the unifying thing?
Right.
And I think if people understood what is the unifying argument from, let's say, all of these sides of protests and people who don't want to wear masks and, you know, Black Lives Matter protests, you know, what are all these things having in common? Is that no one wants to be controlled by a government. Like literally, all these sides have in common the fact that there's this desire to not be controlled.
Well, especially a government that's this shit at right now. I mean, sorry to put it that bluntly, but
No, it's
it's
no,
the
it's
truth. and everyone knows it. Like everyone knows it. They just choose not to say anything about it. Unfortunately, like it is shit. No one's happy. There is a lot of shit going on that needs to be fixed. And I'm very hopeful after this election, the next one, someone actually steps out and does real change, like actual change.
Yeah, I
Not
mean,
it's like, oh, I just want to create this to make the most money as possible for this other companies and things like that. I'm like, well, first of all, the government was not created for that. It's for to regulating the country, not to make money out of it. And unfortunately, that's where a lot of companies have taken it, and it's sad. It's like so now we have to do that shift, and I think that like not this one but the following, it's gonna be like, I mean, I already started hearing on different podcasts that there's gonna be a like bigger change. Someone's gonna step up. We're gonna have better future than what we're at now.
no, well, I think it's important. I think when with how we're with what we talk about and projecting that reality is that's why it's important to think that way. We have to believe that there's going to be this positive change, because there's also going to be groups of people who don't believe in it. We'll end up seeing this positive change, they'll end up seeing a negative change. So it's important to believe in that positive step, because I think right now we're seeing all these systems break down. We're seeing people, stop trusting in different things. We're seeing people who have been a Democrat or a Republican their whole lives be so confused now. People who are so set in their beliefs and that don't know what to even believe anymore.
Yeah.
So we're in this period of time where we're watching. The reason why things really are the way they are is because we're really just watching just generations of an old belief system that was just never going to work fall apart. And
Right.
it's just collapsing. It was never going to be a reliable source for the future. So we're just seeing it dissipate.
Right. And then and then the reason I said that like right now, like what we're trying to mean too is that right now it's a shitstorm. And when I say like hopeful, it's like what happens like after you go through a hard time, right? Second, there's gonna be a brighter day. It's gonna be better. It's gonna be new ideas, new developments, new things, because it always happens when there's a shitty fucking hard time, and this applies to everyone. If you go through a shitty time and you get through it, there's definitely gonna be better days. So there is that hope that it is going. I mean, we hope it happens sooner than later, so like that we don't all go to shit, and then you just realize later on, like, oh fuck, it's too late, and then what? So and it all comes to like, so I think like having these kind of talks, it says, well, all we have to do is work on ourselves, find what really makes us happy, and if things that don't make us happy, then why even do them? Like we don't have to please everyone. If you're comfortable with yourself, that's all other people need to see, to say, okay, well, if he's comfortable with himself, why am the fuck am gonna be an asshole, and do something just because I feel like shit.
No. Honestly, I think like so. There's been times at work where, like if I'm ringing people out, let's say, there has been times when someone has come up to me,
Mhm.
and their original energy is like this, like, okay, I'm gonna fight this and I'm gonna push and I'm gonna do this.
Oh, yeah.
But by the time I've said two or three things, I think they can already tell well, this isn't gonna work out the way I planned, because this person isn't projecting back the way I anticipated them to. Because people will do that. Like, have you ever, let's say, had to return something, and you have this conversation in your head, like, okay, this is gonna. If they ask me why, this is gonna be why, or do I have my receipt? You're kind of just like,
Yeah.
you're scripting out the situation, and if done too many times, that could end up being exactly how it happens. But if you have the person on the opposite end who doesn't receive your energy because they're in their own self, it's not going to play back like that. And if you've just been having this conversation in your head back and forth, and then you go up, it's going to throw you off, because now all of a sudden, wait, they didn't say what I anticipated them saying, so now I can't react to how I anticipated them saying that. You know what I mean? So you end up confusing that person.
yeah, they just start to freak out. They're like, oh shit, I'm uncomfortable. I should attack. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm like, first of all, how can I help you?
Yeah,
Like,
right? Yeah.
yeah, and I think a lot of people need to see that. That's why I think like right now the internet, as bad as people see it, I think a lot of good can come out of it, because we're really like we're really, it feels now, I think, at least for me, or it's probably for you, it's like we're like in an age that people really need to hear this, because we kind of have already, we already feel it, we're already working on our stuff, and we already know who we kind of, I mean, we kind of are, we kind of can reflect on ourselves like, well, this is me. I know what's wrong with me, I know what's good for me, I know what everything, but I'm still gonna be happy with myself. Or you accept yourself, right? And a lot of people don't. And sometimes if you have like, hell go for you like at one time, you're gonna be like, okay, look, I'm going through hell, but how can I fix it? And I'm gonna get through this, and you just gotta keep pushing. And if people are gonna be there for you, and great. If not, it's like, okay, you know what? You know, overgrew them, or just say, it wasn't meant to be with them for a long time. But
Yeah.
but at least don't make it like, oh, like you think you're better than us, just because you change your life. It's like, no, that has nothing to do with anything. It's just
Yeah.
saying like, I was tired of being what I was, and I wanted to become something better for myself. And if there's people that are accepting of that and say, hey, look, can you help me out? Maybe, what did you do that helped you, so I can change my own? And if that kind of, gets passed along, but obviously whatever worked for you might not work for me, but at least they can start searching and have an idea, and it might work for them.
No,
Finding
and I
right.
think back to like the point of like, the circle around you and how they'll react to you having this positive change. I think subconsciously, I think most people, so like they kind of assign roles to the different people in their life.
Okay.
They look at, oh, well, that's so and so, that's how they are, they always do this, they always like that, they always have this thing. So they kind of assign roles to people, and as you're growing up, or whatever. So then as one of those people start to change and they no longer fit that role that they have assigned you, they're going to be frustrated because now they can't go to you for something that they've always gone to you for, because you're just not able to, because you're focused on something you need to focus for yourself. But now they're being greedy and they're thinking, oh, well, I need that time back from that person. But it's like, no, it's my time. I can give it to you if I want, but
Right.
you don't own that time. You don't own a part of me. There's no role that I have to play for you. And I think subconsciously we do that. I think family members do it. You know what I mean? Like, we like think about it. I mean, TV shows always have certain characters, a crazy uncle or a funny neighbor or somebody, you know what I mean? Everyone sort of has their role. And I
Right.
think maybe through watching so much TV or reading so many stories, that's something we've started doing. We assign roles to people, but you can't do that with people, because everyone has their freedom to change, to do something different, to come out of that role. So, if you can be comfortable with, you're supposed to be comfortable with your friends changing and developing and be excited when they come to you with something new, a new interest, a new style, a new whatever. Like, you don't have to be a certain way your whole life. Like,
Right.
I think it's fun to explore, stuff, like one style of music one week, another week, just explore things.
It feels like a lot of people feel the right to be just feel like expectations from a certain people. Like, I expect you to act this way, so you should always be this way. I'm like, when you say that, it really just trying to rob the freedom or the happening of someone else, because I'm feeling so uncomfortable that says, hey, like, I expect you to be the best always. But if they're not, and what, like, you're the one that's gonna be unhappy, not the person that you expect to be there for you all the time. right?
Right.
So it's like, don't have expectations, because if you have high expectations and they don't meet your requirements, you're definitely going to be unhappy for whatever time. And then you're going to hold that personally, and you're going to hate that person for the rest of your life because of your expectations, which at the end, it wasn't even their fault.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like you just hold people to, yeah, exactly, like those expectations, and when they don't meet them, you feel, frustrated to them. And I think even in like little aspects, I think like I kind of started thinking of this where when I was like few years in the, like first few years of being a vegetarian or whatever, it would always be kind of annoying when someone would when we'd be like thinking about where to go to eat or whatever, and it's like, oh well, Jason's a vegetarian, and you're kind of like, I mean, like, yeah, but like I didn't need everybody to like know, like, because if I decide, because at the same time, sometimes like, what if I just decide I don't want to be one day? There's a reason why I don't tell people everything, is because I have the freedom to change. But it's like then they assign that rule to you, and now you're kind of sitting there like, I would have figured it out. I always do, like, but now it's kind of like it's almost like that's how your new role is being put back on you, is by like addressing it now, and it's like it's hard sometimes, when other people address you for you. You're kind of like, can you not, like, I know who I am, I don't need you to tell people who I am.
Yeah, yeah, that's more like yeah. I mean, I'm trying to understand that. Just like, let's say if we were hanging out, right, and we have all these meat eaters, and then I bring you along, right, and like, yeah, we're gonna hang out, but that's not like let's say everyone wants to go eat, then we'll go eat, and then obviously you'll figure it out what you can and can't eat, right? It's like, why would I say, hey guys? I mean, unless sometimes I can see it as like, well, I care about Jason so much that, hey, like, let's go have some vegan, or he's vegetarian. I mean, you can see it that way too, unless, or sometimes I'll you'll throw a joke around, but not try to not to be negative against you,
Yeah.
but it's mostly a friendly thing. So when you said that, like, what do you mean, like they will announce it for you, like, because obviously you didn't like that.
Yeah, just because I felt like it was something that I was doing personally for myself. Like I know it's not a big deal. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
nothing. There's really nothing shameful about it, but people will find ways to shame you for it. So that's another thing. You know what I mean? Sometimes you don't want to hear from other people. Like, oh, what do you mean? Like, you're missing out. You don't know what you. And it's like, no, I do, because I used to eat it.
Yeah, it's annoying.
So exactly, you know what I mean? So it's more so of like when you're used to hearing the comments, you're kind of just like you don't need to hear it. You know what I mean? So you're not like keeping like your personality to yourself. You're just keeping certain things to yourself because you have the freedom to do that. So
like me not trying to convince you, say, hey, meat's good for you, because that can get really annoying.
Right.
Yeah, I get
Yeah,
you.
I mean, if you're my friend who, like, if we're in a group of friends, and at this point it's known that I don't eat meat or whatever, and we're trying to figure out where to go, like, sure, if you're like, hey, like, does anything look good to you on the menu or whatever, like, just those kind of things.
Yeah.
But it was a whole idea, especially because this is like 11 years ago, so it's like it wasn't as big as it is now, so there weren't many options and things, but it would always kind of be like, I didn't want. I sometimes I would eat before I would go out, just in case. You know what I mean? Like I would
Yeah.
make myself something to eat, just so I know, like, okay, like if we end up going somewhere and there's not anything for me, at least I'll have some food.
Right.
So it was kind of like I also didn't want to be a buzzkill on where we went, because I was just looking to be out. So if my friends wanted to go somewhere and there wasn't food to eat, it was like it didn't need to be like the plans didn't need to be made around me. As much as I could appreciate it, you sometimes as an individual don't want to feel that burden either of like, oh, they have to plan around me. You know what I mean? Like I
Right.
didn't want to feel that. So it was just kind of like that idea of like you can kind of appreciate it from some ways, but at the same time it's like you don't necessarily, not everyone wants to be addressed for their personality traits. You just don't need to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's I can definitely see that when you really believe in something and then people are trying to just poke at you, trying to change you for any way. That can really be annoying. And that's exactly what we were just talking about. We need to be accepting of people who they are.
Mhm.
Yeah, if they're like fucking like an asshole all the time and they're very terrible people and all they do is just poke at other people in negative way, then obviously we're gonna just say, well, I gotta take myself somewhere else because obviously they're not being friends and not accepting of who you really are. And I think that's where a lot of people don't understand is like, well, you're not like me, I can't let you into my circle. I mean, that's I mean, if you think about it, I mean, growing up, we were taught to think that way, or we just wanted to be with the people that we like and screw everybody else. But as you grow up, it's like no, it's like why does it matter? Like we all different. We're all humans. We all have a brain. We all think differently. I mean, why can I accept that? Like, yeah, if they're making my life miserable, then okay, well, just I don't need to be there, But it is their own life. It's that, and then I take my happiness somewhere else where it'll be accepted, right? So it's exactly like your choices. It's like, well, if Jay has some choices and that he really believes, and I should respect of what Jay believes in, because why would I want to change him because I really like him the way he is. It's so weird how people is like the thing is that if I was really uncomfortable with myself, then I would definitely be so uncomfortable that I would want you to change so I can feel more comfortable, which is fucking odd.
Right.
Right. And then that kind of like brings me to like things that I do have changed for a long time is like when you're at work, right? You obviously, and it brings right in the middle between, starting your passionate project and what your current situation is. It's like, well, you're doing your current career, and obviously you're gonna have bad days because you're like, I wish I can do something all the time that I really enjoy and love. But this is only temporary. But in the process, sometimes you're just gonna lose your patience instead of like, and you're gonna bring yourself down. Next, let's say after work or your career or whatever that is that you don't like, and you kind of like just like to feel better, you gotta let it out somehow, right? And if you don't have a routine to kind of change that, let's say when you get home, and you can't really change that mindset, then the first thing you're gonna do is take it out on the first person you see, because it does happen, and sometimes you don't do it on purpose, but sometimes you do to make yourself better because it's like a defense mechanism, right?
Right.
But there has to be a point where, all right, well, you realize it. Are you changing for the better so that doesn't really happen? Because obviously, if you love someone, you're not gonna hurt them, right? In any way. But the thing is that I don't expect you to be perfect, like all the time, because I already accept of who you are. If sometimes you feel like shit and you want to, do whatever you need to do to cope with it. I mean, even if you take it on me, I'm gonna be like, well, I am comfortable enough to say, look, what it's like when you want your time, let's talk about it, and then maybe I can help you. And if I can't, then find really deep inside of what really needs to get out of there, and then process it, right? But that doesn't mean that hey, I'm just gonna cut you out of my life, like.
No, yeah. I mean that's the thing. Like if I did start getting angry at you or start coming at you, I think you'd probably be on that level now to know I was probably dealing with something, right? So if I don't reflect back on that situation to see where I started taking something out on you because of something internally on me, I may end up like being like, no, it was Angel's fault because he did this, in which I'm just saying that something outside of me had influence. But the reality is like I'm the one who controls that. So if I have that instance, then clearly something would be going on within me. But most people don't want to admit that they're dealing with something. They don't want to acknowledge that. So then they'll say, no, it's because of you. It's something you did. You talked about me behind my back, or you did this because of this thing. And it's like, but there's no need to just put that much energy back out into that person, like I mean, I've literally been in a situation where I was talking to people who I thought were my friends and was told by one of them that they didn't want me in their group of friends, to which instead of putting any like thought into it, I just like turned around and talked to this other group of people that was like behind me. So it was like just do that. Like I didn't even know I was doing that, but when I look back, I'm like, how would a middle school kid like know to do that? Like to just be like told off by one group of friends, but to just be like, I don't really care then, and just like turn around and like start talking to another group. But I
Yeah.
think that's what it is like most people would get so offended by that and try to like win those people back over or argue over those people. But it's just a waste. It's just a waste.
It is.
When you see how much of a waste it is, you'll realize like just move on. Like I mean, when people go through, relationship stuff and they have to move on from that, if
Right.
you always when you're always thinking about it and you're always living in those emotions, you're going to stay in it and you're never really going to be able to move on from it. But it's important to let go and to just let it be. If you have to work through the emotions, work through them, but just foresee the fact that there's going to be a day when you're not affected by it anymore.
Right.
If you don't see that day, it's not going to happen. So you have to tell yourself, no, there's going to be that day when it's the end of it and I realized I've gone the whole day without feeling negative, I feel, and then it will come. So I
Right.
mean,
And it's definitely not the easiest thing to do because it is something like internal that you definitely were programmed since you were little to kind of develop it. And if it's not brought up when it's little, then it's going to be a little more difficult when you're more adult to, I mean, not to change it, but the process might be a little longer than, if you
yeah,
were like taught, in school, say, look, when you get really angry, there's this way to kind of calm you down and make you feel great again. Then you'll be able to bring those feelings down and realize of what you're doing then, and you're gonna feel that peace. But sometimes, you're just going with your day and you don't even know that's what's going on, and next thing you know, you're just unleashing all these things on and just letting it go. And that's the thing though. It's like, well, then we just have to understand that, okay, look, if you're having those issues, like, why would I? First of all, I'm the type of person that would ask, well, look, I think you need some time to realize and think about what you need to do, so like that you don't react the way you do and when you have tough times. Um, and then if you want to talk about it, then just let me know when you're ready to talk about it. But if, let's say, there is a problem and we never talk about it, and let's say, that the problem is between you and I, right? And we never talk about it, then it'll never be solved and we'll never have that relationship we had, you know, and if, one person doesn't want to solve it and the other one does, and really people don't understand themselves, then what is left? It's like, well, we tried everything to fix it, but the thing is that something or inside is holding, someone back to
a
do so.
lot of a lot of times it's just the attachment to things. I mean, if you can get yourself into a place where you no longer even have a desire to fight for somebody's attention, fight for somebody's respect, or fight for somebody's, whatever, it won't even, if you kind of start to think like, is there an argument? Is there a conversation? You might even think like, you know what? I'm just going to continue to find the inner peace within me. If the conversation arises, it arises. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But at the same time, like, you don't always have to try to talk things out either, because sometimes they're just not going to go anywhere. Sometimes you can end up back in the same, if not worse, negative space. I mean, I've been in positions where I think I'm going to go into something having like a constructive conversation and be able to, talk about feelings and this and that. And then all of a sudden, halfway in it, you're just like, this is worse. Like, this is worse. And so it's almost more important to just get to that place where you're like, you know what? I don't even care to talk about the past. I don't care to try to let this person know why that bothered me or why this and that. And like your ego is going to want you to, your ego is going to be like, no, they got to understand. They need to know how I felt.
Oh,
They got to,
yeah.
but it doesn't. Just let it go. I mean, it's so easy, but it's so hard for people to want to do it. People want to hold on to resentment. They want to hold on to those pasts, because sometimes they feel like they don't know who they are without it because that's all they know. But
Right.
it's because they're not spending enough time thinking about the future, in terms of where they could go,
Right.
and being more calm in the present moment to know, like, look, you're still here, you're still alive, you're still going to wake up tomorrow. So start making yourself happier, start letting go of the things that are making you feel negative, and don't feel like by me saying that it's just going to be easy. Like, understand, like, there's going to be hardships, there's going to be tough times, but feel more have a more positive, like, outlook, and trust the fact that the future is going to be better than the past.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you're just going to keep thinking about the day before and the day before and the day before, and trying, like, I'm sure there are people out there that probably literally have the same family arguments every year, once or twice a year. Someone brings something up that sets somebody off, then that's a whole thing, and now for the next 3 months they're fixing and patching things up until the next time someone later on in the year then brings it back up, and it starts, you know what I mean, like, that kind of cycle exists.
Yeah, it does.
And it's so scary because people just don't know how to let it go or move away from it, or to say, like, I'm done with that, like, we hold on to things for too long. And again, like I think we said earlier, you get to that point where you're like, I shouldn't have held that on, I could have found peace sooner, and then it's just, I don't know. I guess I got to a point where I guess just moving on, letting go and stuff became, I think, so easy for me now. And
Yeah.
it doesn't mean, I don't mean anything bad by it. I just mean, like, I'm just not affected by it. If someone enters my life and we have, a friendship for a few months and it goes away, I'm kind of just at the point where I think I'm just okay with that, because, it's not for me to continue to take on if it's not meant to. If it just needs to be for a little bit, just for a little bit. If it's going to be for a long time, great. But I just I just don't dwell on that stuff anymore.
Yeah, because then you just be dwelling for days, days, years, days turns to weeks, and weeks to months, and months to years, and then you just want to be like, oh, I just spent all this time where I could just spend my energy in something even better, or
Exactly.
on myself.
Hmm.
Uh, and I think that's what it is. It's like you shouldn't expect a lot from people, because when you do, it's just gonna be a waste of time.
Yeah. And I
If
think and I think that's too, like, from people, or even sometimes just from, like, experiences or just things, like, that's the thing. I think when you put too many expectations even on, like, a future, then you could be setting yourself up. It's just no expectation. Like I believe, you know, I believe my art is going to be a main source of income. I don't have expectations on how that's going to happen. I know when I want it to happen. But I'm not. I got to stay in that unknown. Otherwise, I'm going to be thinking in the of past ways, or I'm going to be thinking, oh, well, I got to do it this way, or I got to do it that way, as opposed to just trusting the process and getting things done and moving forward with it, and trusting my voice when I go to talk about it. And it's like, I I don't know. I guess you just have to put that trust in the unknown,
right,
and I think the more we do that, the more we'll just become okay with the way things come and go. And you know, you get a car, you lose a car, you buy a house, you buy a new house. We just kind of move through things.
right. Because I mean, at the end, we just kind of have to be accepted for our destiny where we're at now, right? It's
Hmm.
like, well, it's like you did everything as possible as you could. You did your best. But you're here. This is your destiny. Like right now, literally, is your destiny. You can either say, "Fuck my destiny," screw this. I'm gonna be miserable and I don't like it and blame everybody else. Or say, look, I actually am comfortable. I'm comfortable with myself. This is my destiny, and I'm gonna let my destiny do its thing. I know there's a path already that I'm taking, but I can't control my destiny, even as how much you want to control it, because at the end you're gonna end up where you're meant to be, you know. But it all comes down to when you push the idea and the energy that's gonna get you to your destiny, to whatever you're meant to be. And even if, let's say, for something, let's say, a company I built, right? It doesn't go that way, and you get to a point like, if I continue, I'm gonna just screw myself, over and over and over. Then you gotta be able to realize, like, I'm just gonna, I gotta cut it clear, start again, and create a new destiny. But
no, and I think actually, it's really too. It's not so much about what you're meant to do.
mm-hmm.
I think it's actually more about what you choose to do. Because I don't know, I think I've gone through this battle where it's like you put too much pressure too on thinking like, okay, there's something I'm supposed to do. There's something I'm supposed to do.
Sure.
I'm meant to do one thing, But I think actually it's more you choose something. I don't know if I was meant to be an artist. I feel like I chose to be an artist.
Right.
Like if I just went down a path of what I was doing, then it would be like, was I meant to be a store manager in a retail store? I could look at it that way, but I think ultimately those were just things I was choosing. And I only say this because I think I've put pressure on myself even at points to be like, well, what am I here for? What is my purpose? You choose it. I realize, I think like you have to, there's just a point when if you're not happy with where you're going, change the direction, choose something new.
Like
so
by you choosing it, that was already your destiny to choose that, right?
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like beyond whatever the universe energy, say, Jay, I'm creating you with all this energy, and at one point you're going to be like, oh my God, I want to start painting, I'm going to be an artist. So you literally, like, by your choices or your path, creating this destiny between you and your art, and at the end you're so happy about it. So it's kind of like, like you were kind of destined for it. I mean, believe it or not, because we all are filled of energy, and the energy works in mysterious ways that sometimes we can put our energy out there to push our destiny to a certain direction, but at the end, do we really have that control? Like, you can't say, we can say that, yeah, like we put in the work and we got lucky and we ended up in this endpoint, right? By doing all we could and be happy about it. But then you can see it the other way. It's like, oh shit, well, at this point my destiny is shit. So what can I do about it? Well, you have a choice. Like, if your destiny right now, you're poor, broken down and everything, what are your choice right now in this destiny that the universe chose for you? What is it? And that's when you start putting out new energy. Either you're going to fix that destiny, and who knows where you're going to end up, but it's definitely going to be better than choosing the other way, saying, oh, screw this, I'm going to blame everybody else, and then end up even worse than what you were. But at the end, it's still going to be your destiny.
Yeah, I mean, like, but maybe that's the thing too, is like, you don't think about your destiny. Wherever you do end up at the end, you can say is the destiny, but
no.
But I think that's what I mean, is just though, like, but at the same time, though, like I said, I don't really know if we have like these specific purposes we're like sent here for. I think more of like we just start choosing different paths, and I think there's that thing where when you start choosing, like, let's say like a path of self-discovery and happiness, you start just aligning more with those people, with those connections, being able to meet someone that wants to have a podcast even like this, to talk about it. So I think, yeah, it's like, it's part destiny, part choice. You know what I mean? Like, I do feel like we do get to choose, like we do get to choose which way we want to go, but then, yeah, to ultimately say that how we get there and everything else, that's left up to the destiny, sure. But I just think, because I think, sometimes could get stuck in the mindset, just because I think sometimes people get stuck in the mindset of, oh, well, my destiny must be shit. My destiny must be poverty. My destiny must be this because I saw my parents did that, and their parents did that, and their parents did this. So that must be my destiny, but at the same time, it's not. Once you choose something different, you're just creating a new destiny. Then essentially, you're just redirecting it. But I think I just don't want people to put pressure on themselves, thinking that there's like, you're destined for anything. You're not destined for failure. You're not destined.
Because when I say destiny, it's specifically like, like no one has control over it. No one has control. Even by your choices, you don't know where you're gonna end up, and that's okay.
Right.
Because like we were talking about it, like, yeah, we had an idea. You had your idea on your own. You want to create a podcast. My idea, I want to create my podcast. Somehow it became destiny that we actually got it started, and we made it. That's by the power of whatever it is. We are actually creating a podcast right now and talking about it. Which, like, to be honest, like, we couldn't say that's gonna be our destiny. Really, it just happens.
Right.
So yeah, definitely you can't say this is my destiny. This is the way it's gonna be, because then, like, again, you're putting expectations on yourself. If you don't meet those expectations, you're gonna be unhappy.
Yeah, I mean, I could put it in an abstract way, kind of sci-fi, I guess, a little bit, right? So let's say there's all these different timelines as you move up, So if timelines are whatever, I'm losing words, but if timelines go in a straight line, but if you can move through different timelines, then you could say, like, if you move to the timeline where you choose to be a musician and you believe in it and you stick in it and you stay in that vibration of it, then yeah, you're going in the destiny of that timeline. So in an abstract way, if you want to view it in an alternate reality, quantum kind of field way, I guess, like, you would vibrate to a better destiny, vibrate out of your negative situation to a higher situation, to then you're going along that timeline to where all the events that need to take place for that, ultimate positive end goal will happen.
Right.
But then I think if you lose it, I think also if you lose it, you start to really doubt yourself and you allow all the negativity to build on you. Then if you start moving down in these kind of timelines, then you're going on the real bad ones, and now you're setting yourself up for a really bad destiny.
Right.
So it is like part choice, part destiny, and they both, when you go in a more positive direction, you have a more positive destiny. If you let yourself fall and crumble, you'll have more of a negative destiny.
And that's I mean, that's unfortunately what it is. And at the end, I'm not gonna blame the other person for having a different destiny than I have. Everyone has very different destinies on whatever the situation is. And at the end, you have an option to be happy with that destiny, or, I mean, even if you have everything, you can be the unhappiest person ever. Even if you're like the poorest person, you can even be the happiest person ever. It just depends on how accepting are of your destiny at that point. Because if let's say I hit a really low point in life and I'm like, well, I have two options. Either I can feel sorry for myself, be sad all the time, and just stay there, or I can actually say, okay, well, I accept my destiny. This is where I'm supposed to be. This is okay. Well, then. And then I'm like, well, but I'm happy at this point because this is where I'm meant to be. I mean, you can look at it in both sides. It's like with anything, and I was talking to my dad about it the other day. Is like, you can literally, let's say you're destiny right now. Okay, I'm working in construction. You're working at Michael's, right? So we can go to work and say, damn, man, like, worst destiny ever, right? And you can go like that day to day. Your days are gonna be a drag, long days, you're living hell. Or you can say, hey, like, this is my destiny right now. It's temporary. I know I have a different path. Well, no, I have a path that's gonna get me to where I'm really supposed to be. But you accept it there and then, and you're still happy, and you still keep going and moving on, moving that more smoothly than just being negative with yourself.
Well, no, and I mean you're gonna attract positive situations by being positive, even in a negative environment, because that's what's gonna stand out. I mean, working in customer experience or customer service, you you're gonna realize like it's more important to be positive in that negative situation, because if you are looking to move up in a company or do anything like that, they're going to look for the person who is that most I wouldn't say energetic, but just that most like excited to help someone out or to be there, that's, and it's not like running yourself thin, it's just naturally letting that be who you are, you know what I mean, like,
Accept you
yeah,
are
and
at that moment.
also
Yeah.
like, and for me, like being an artist, if I'm negative at work and I'm moping around or I'm not really doing things, well, there's all these customers who are coming into an art store because clearly they have something art on their mind. I would just be missing tons of people to network to.
Mm,
And also, if any of them saw me at an art show, they might think of like who I was at the store and be like, "Oh, I don't want to. Oh, he's this way because he's just trying to sell me his art." But when I was at that store, he was real rude,
mm.
Or what I do for me, really, I just stay positive at my job and do that, where I'm kind of like the person who's always like talking to people or whatever, and then it opens up
Stay positive
doors
because
for
you
me to talk
accept
about my
it, right?
art. Hmm?
You stay positive because you accept you accept that moment.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, I accept that that's where I'm at for right now. But
Right.
I've gotten really confident in knowing that I'm not going to be there for much longer.
Right. Exactly.
So, you know, but it's not saying, exactly when or how long, but
Right.
I just go into it more in a positive way, and I kind of use it as like a testing ground. Like I can see now what the lessons are that I'm learning there. I can see where I've improved in myself with, like, I think sometimes like it's interesting because I feel like sometimes you'll kind of bend or mend your personality depending on like who you're around, or what,
Oh no,
friend or whatever.
I'll influence on you. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I've kind of stopped doing it. Like I feel like I noticed that I'm sort of one way with everybody,
Right.
and I've really started to like
That's
that.
you. Yeah, that's you. Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is.
like, cause I'm probably like the one that's like I go in every morning, like say good morning to everybody, like I joke with everybody, like I do just silly things around the store just to keep it fun, like, but I don't let, like, if someone isn't that energetic or like that's super positive, like I don't let that bring me back down. I don't try to meet them at their level anymore.
Mm.
I just stay at my level and meet people there.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And then hopefully that snaps out of them and brings you up. It brings them up too. And I mean, yeah, that's exactly. You shouldn't modify yourself for being who you are.
Right.
Like, I mean, if you're happy at that moment with that destiny right there, and other people are just miserable, then that's okay. At least you know who you really are, and you're at the end is your happiness within. You know,
Mm.
that's what it is. It's your happiness within of whatever the situation is. Yeah, we're gonna wish we were in other uh, points in time, but even realizing that it's temporary. This is the destiny that I'm supposed to be here now, and this is the way I am, and I accepted myself for who I am 100%. Then, dude, what else is holding you back? Nothing.
Right.
Nothing's
Yeah.
gonna.
I mean, yeah, you'll be the only person holding yourself back. Like there's a lot of unknown kind of scary things that you can jump towards or whatever, but if you don't do them, you're just going to be stuck in a situation, and the better the sooner you do it, the better you'll be. The sooner you just decide like that's what I'm going to do. And it doesn't mean that I have to just like make a bunch of stupid decisions. Learn a little bit about yourself too, and learn how to trust your intuition. Um, but yeah, I mean, ultimately, like you're you're only gonna fail if you don't allow yourself to imagine.
Mhm.
If you're stuck in that limited belief of like, well, this is what I went to school for, or this is all I'm good at, or this is what I know. If you're stuck in there, that's it. I mean, like we said earlier, it's like you've accepted your destiny, but if you're not happy about it, you could change it, but if you don't want to believe that you can change it, then you're just, I don't know, that's just what you're doing. And I think for me, I used to want to help everybody change and develop, but now you realize like, well, I can't get stuck on one person. I got to, try to just keep moving and do what I do and hope maybe that helps, maybe whatever. But I don't know. I don't put weight on it anymore.
It feels like you started working on yourself,
Hmm.
personally, and then kind of that kind of made you the person who you are now. Because then imagine like your whole life trying to help everyone every single time, you would not even have time to work on yourself ever. Imagine pleasing everyone you see. You would never
Yeah.
have time. And then imagine you get at a point in time, let's say, in your deathbed, right? And then you start to realize, shit, I don't even know who I am. Like all I was doing is just helping people, and that can make really people unhappy. Yeah, no, I'm not saying that it's bad to help people. I mean, once in a while, we should help people,
Right.
and
Right.
and dedicate some time to them. But the thing is that in order for us to be happy, we need to help ourselves, and then we can help others. Because if
Right.
if I really have no control over myself, and I just go crazy and I'm not aware of what I'm doing, and I try to go help someone else, they're gonna get the same energy, they're gonna act the same way, they're gonna learn the same um, type of, just I'm just really gonna mess them up. They're gonna
Hmm.
be scrambling around. But if I already found my own characteristic, my own character, and just come and approach it for who I am, and be confident and be like, well, this is who I am. I worked on myself. I am mentally prepared for whatever comes. Then you're going to be so in tune with you. Then when that person is like just going with themselves, you're not going to be thinking, oh well, how can I make them happy? How can I do that? How can I do that? I'm
No,
like,
yeah, you won't even want to. I mean, when you become so, it's like good with yourself and you become at peace, like wanting to judge anybody or even wanting to really feel like you have to be someone's savior or any of those things, like you won't even want to do it because it's gonna like it's just gonna be not a waste, but you just know you don't need to. You know what I mean? Like you'll be nice to people because you want to be. You'll be nice to people because you're happy. It would be nice to people just because you're nice to yourself. Like
doesn't work.
yeah, exactly. Like that's the thing. Like I just go I the more I've the better I've treated myself, the better I can tell I've treated other people,
Right.
and that's all I really kind of, aim for because I'm not gonna,
What else is there really? Right.
yeah, I mean, like I want people to do great things. I want people to be them, the best selves, but I've just learned that there's a time and a place for it, and you're not going to be able to save everybody, So I've just, like you said, like we're just like focusing on ourselves, so that way we can be an example of what we're thinking, what we're talking about. It's like if we believe in it, we
Right.
should be doing it. So the more we do it, the more people look at us and they go like, oh, like how is Angel able to like deal with that customer? Like they're like the worst. They're our worst customer, but yet Angel's able to deal with them really well. You know what I mean? People are gonna like look at that and see it.
And then let's say even if you meet someone like, well, like I think like we can just give our like this example between you and me, right?
Mhm.
I think the reason we can communicate the way it is because we're comfortable enough with ourselves to communicate really, right?
Right.
And we kind of aware of where we came from, who we are, and what we're trying to do. So at and thinking about it, we're at peace, even having a conversation as what we're having right now.
Hmm.
But let's say if I had no self development, I had never learned about myself, this would be really tough. Like we
Hmm.
wouldn't be connecting. We would, and that's exactly what the example is like when people say is like, well, I need to find my better half. It's like to become happy. I'm like, well, then you're just screwing yourself up. You need to be full on yourself, and the other person needs to be full of, well, not full of themselves. It sounds terrible, but not full of themselves, but like fully aware develop in the way that they're happy, and if they're happy and you're happy, what do you think the conversation is going to be about? It's not going to be of like, going back and forth, being uncomfortable. No, it's going to flow. It's going to be peaceful. And I think that's a great thing that people should see. So like that, we can all live in peace. I mean, obviously it sounds easier than what we're saying because it is practice. It is waking up every day, being grateful, say thank you for, one more day, and be thankful that, you get to go to work on your purpose project and just keep going forward from them. And I think that's what it takes, is just inner peace to be able to develop this relationship, really.
Right.
Because if you think about it, it's like the only relationships that work is the ones that people are comfortable enough with themselves that whatever they say, people, if they get comfortable, that's on them. If I say something like, because even before this podcast, like I get really uncomfortable when I communicate with text or even like through Messenger or things like that. I'd rather have longer conversations than just say, "Oh, hey, what's up? Hey, how you doing? What's going on?" And then it makes me feel so uncomfortable. But yet again, I'm so introverted that when I meet someone, I'm like, okay, so what do you want to talk about, or what should I do? But now there's a point, is like, I am so comfortable enough with long conversation, is like, even if I say something stupid, then we can actually talk about it, and that's okay because it's a learning curve or a learning project. But at least I'm aware and I am happy to do so.
Right.
But if I was the opposite, then I would be like, I really will be holding back everything, and this conversation will go anywhere. And next thing you know, you're like, well, this fucking podcast sucks, or like,
right? No, I mean, I know what you mean. Like, it's, I don't know. It's just like, it's just finding that sweet spot. Finding that thing that like people have, that you do have in common with someone else. Like, even if you're just trying to, like, because me, like, I used to think like I was so introverted and stuff, but I kind of realized I'm not really introverted. I just, like, I don't do well with basic conversation. Like you're saying, like, I'm really not even an introvert. I'm just literally like, I just can't do well with basic conversations, like how many times we have to talk about music that we like and movies that we like. It's like, okay, I get it, but like, can we like talk about something else? You know what I mean? But people don't want it. People don't want to talk about like, like inner peace and being calm. Like,
well,
yeah. People get really uncomfortable with it. But I think too, though, the more you develop yourself, the more you come to who you are. You're naturally going to attract other people like that. So the more I'm putting myself out there and being more okay with like, this is the way I think, this is the way I believe about things, the more I'm actually even like meeting people that also have that mindset, that makes it easier to have those conversations. So because it's like those people are out there, it's just like you gotta kind of like put yourself out there until you find it. Like it was like a couple weeks ago, I went to like a meditation class in like Santa Monica. And it was just me seeing and post about it, and I was like, you know what, I got the time, I can go, I want to make it, because to me it's like those are the people that I would want to be around. It wasn't like a party, it was like just it was literally just us laid in the grass, so it was great, and that's the thing, like at first you're gonna feel kind of, at first you can, I don't want to say you will, because everyone's journey is gonna be different. But you can reach times where you feel kind of alone in your journey because you feel like no one else understands you, because everyone from your past, they didn't understand you. So that's why, again, you got to look for that future where you find the people who understand you, and not only understand you, but now you get to even learn from. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of where I'm at right now. I've kind of started putting myself out there too, to try to find someone who can help me develop more skills around like meditation and self-reflection, and a way to help me teach other people how to do it as well. So kind of like a mentor in that sense, so I mean, it's all out there, like literally anything and everything is out there. You just have to trust it, and then you have to go with the movements and look for it.
Exactly. It's just putting the energy behind it to go and have the idea of what you want to do. Really, it's, you know, and at the end, it's your choice, right? It's like, if you know, if you like for me, like, you know, I chose to, well, I didn't choose to. I just do better with longer conversations than, you know, hey, hi, and then it feels uncomfortable. It's like, oh, well, I really didn't connect with you. It's like,
Yeah.
then it stops there. But it takes two. It just can't be one person, you know.
Right.
So I think it's like how this work is because we are developing ourselves. We are learning. We are doing what we want. We are. I mean, it's just all this are that we kind of get ourselves that, hey, like, I'm comfortable enough, you know, to be or around other people, you know, and or in this conversation. It's like, okay, well, then that makes sense.
I mean, even just thinking back to like when I was just like last year, it was like the first year I really started putting all my art out there. So being down at like Low Key Gallery, um, when they like first asked me about like doing live painting and like doing it, like my only response was like, yeah, like I'm gonna do it. Like, but it was something I didn't know if I was gonna be comfortable doing. It was just a step into the unknown, and I just knew it wasn't like I had to do it. It was that it was something I wanted to do. You know, I knew it was part of the journey, part of the destination, you know, like I knew I had to get through it. And honestly, it was great, you know, like it showed me like I can talk to people, you know, like and it wasn't all just like, hi, how you doing conversations, you know, it's people asking me about my art. It was me asking them about, you know, where they're from, or, you know, what they like to do, or, you know, exchanging Instagram stuff, you know, and so it's not all like it has to be these deep conversations. It just has to be on a level conversation, you know, somewhere where you are with people who are also like pretty good with themselves, or, you know, or just are more relaxed, you know, and because some people do, like they get too uptight even in their own head where they don't really know how to like talk to other people, you
Yeah.
know, and just to be though in that environment was nice. So to me it was just like reassuring that like I was doing the right steps, you know, I was going in the right direction of it all, because yeah, like I had never really painted in front of people like that. And I was just like at a point where I was like, I just got to tell myself I'm confident enough to do it and believe in it. And that's what worked. So, I mean,
It
that's why I
happened.
keep, you know, that's why I keep doing these things, because like as I learned about them, I was also doing them. And sometimes I was doing something and then learning about what I just did and wanting to do more of that, you know, like, you know, it's like what I was saying uh, maybe even before we started, was just the idea of how, you know, sometimes going into painting, it's good to put that energy in there of like not just like, especially if you're trying to make a living off of it,
Mhm.
you know, putting the energy into finding the people that are interested in supporting you, you know, like saying like I'm going to paint this because I know someone's going to want this, you know. And and that's if you want to make a living off of it. If you just want to create cool stuff, create cool stuff. But that's where I'm at, is just trying to put the energy into the paintings of something that someone would be attracted to, something that someone's going to see something in, something that they like, something that attracts them. Um, but you know, I still have fun with it. You know, I still paint the way I like to. You know, it's not taking that away. It just you know, realizing that like if you want something that you're working on to get out there, you have to put the intention of being okay with other people having it, you know, like it's can't really, you can be inclusive for a little bit, but I mean even brands, you know, even brands that try to be inclusive or exclusive, they'll just like end up all of a sudden like being everywhere, you know,
Right.
like Supreme, you know what I mean, like everyone has a Supreme something or other these days, you know what I mean, like so that's the thing, it's just like a matter of just being okay with wherever you want to take your brand or your product or whatever. Like people are gonna say what they're gonna say, you know, but if you're doing well, it's not gonna really matter to you as much. You
Right.
know, like if someone's like, "Oh, your brand used to be so cool and now it's all changed and it's in stores and I can get it everywhere," and it's like, okay, I'm sorry, but like, thanks for the
Like,
support in
like
the
that's what I
beginning.
wanted to do, man.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah,
thanks for your support in the beginning. Like,
right.
hey, like I do limited quantities of stuff. You can still do those. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? But it's
it's like the
like,
people that say oh, like you sold out, you went big time. I'm like, no, you should be happy for those people.
yeah,
They,
no,
you
it's
know,
sometimes like, are you supporting the brand or are you supporting your image on finding hard to get brands?
hmm
Does that make sense? You know what I mean? Like for like the brand, I'm reading a book about the brand The
like the
Hundreds.
status, like the status.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm reading a book about the clothing line The Hundreds, and I think sometimes it can be like that idea of like, are the people that are first buying your stuff, are they buying it because it's like not everyone has it, but then once you start getting to where you want it to get, people are going to turn their back on you because now you can get it in the store. You know, it's just like weird stuff. You know,
Limit
just
yourself. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So the
Right.
thing, just don't care. Just know that it could happen. It might, but you got to keep doing your thing. You know, you got to keep creating the way you want to create. Don't let people tell you how to create. Create the way you want to create,
100%.
because like it's your product. You know, and if you trust that you can make a living off of it, you will. You know, if you let the voices around you stop you, then that's what's gonna happen too. You know.
Yeah, at the end is your product and is your inner peace and is your happiness, dude. That's how it is.
Yeah. No,
That's
yeah, inner peace is gonna bring you your happiness. Like that's the
how,
only thing. Nothing. It's not gonna come from anything outside of you. You're the only one that can bring it, and that's not discrediting that some people are in really, really hard situations, born into tough environments. Things are rough. Not doubting that, not criticizing that or anything. It's
Mhm.
just still saying though, like you can still, find it in yourself to see a positive light somewhere, and those that do, they find it, they really do. I mean, there are survivor stories. There are people who are now thriving off of their negative situations. So, I mean, everyone's going to have their own way of it,
Like
but
trying
at the
to go
same
positive.
time,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like at the same time, like, that's why it's important to get a message like this out there because the more we can encourage people to just be themselves, to be happy within and not look for it externally, the better we'll start to be, the more we'll be able to understand each other, the easier it will be to have a conversation with someone who has a different belief than you. It's just it will be better because then you won't take it so hard. You won't feel like you have to change someone else. It just things are good, things are bad,
Yeah,
and you
it
just
doesn't feel forced. Yeah, it doesn't feel forced, and at the end, it's gonna just be comfortable. Like you said, it's gonna be comfortable within yourself, within the people that you're around with.
hmm
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, the more supportive your circle is and the more you support the people in your circle, the better things are,
right. Yeah,
that's it. Just support each other, be happy about, each other's successes. Don't try to like wish ill on anyone else, just
right.
just be 100% unapologetically authentically yourself, and just do it.
Exactly. That's true. That's what it is.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the episode. You can let us know what you think below. Leave us a couple comments. Also, subscribe, or you can also find us on Instagram at Projecting Your Own Reality. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll check you next time.
See you guys then.